Hello, I am Lena Sundquist, and I took over as CEO of Climeon in August last year. And we all know that we need more sustainable power in this world, and that is what this conference is all about. And we have heard about a lot of really good alternatives today and really good technologies like wind power, solar power, biomass, hydrogen, and really good technologies, all very much needed, but they all also have their limitations. And as we heard also in the panel discussions just before the break, is that not one single technology can solve this whole situation, that we need more electricity and we need fossil-free and sustainable power. And Climeon's contribution to this world of more sustainable power is heat power. So what is then heat power? Heat power is actually electricity from heat. And in the world, there is a lot of heat which is not being used today. For example, in all industrial processes, there is a lot of waste heat. And on board ships and in power plants on land, there's a lot of heat just being wasted. So in a lot of industries and on board ships and in power stations, normally of the energy you put in, more than 50% of that energy is just wasted as heat, not being used today. And this heat can be converted into clean electricity, and that is what Climeon is doing. So our product is, in general, it's an organic ranking cycle, but with a very high efficiency. And we use low temperature heat, around 80 to 120 degrees. And we also need a cold source. And this cold source could be any cold source. It could be a river, it can be seawater, it can be cooling tower, or it can be dry cooling. And what's happening in our product then is that we take in this heat. Inside our product is an organic fluid. And that organic fluid is heated up, it is evaporized, it goes through a turbine generating electricity, and then it's cooled down and condensed, and it's a closed loop within our product. And the product that we have today generates 150 kilowatt of energy or electricity. We have a number of installations today. We have more than 30 units installed on board ships. For example, on Virgin Voyages passenger ships or cruise ships. We have them on board Havila ships trading along the Norwegian coast. We have them on board 2 Viking Line vessels trading here in the Baltic Sea. And we also have 1 unit on board a Maersk container vessel trading globally. We also have 1 installation on a steel mill in Sweden, or a steel factory, and we have geothermal installations on Iceland and in Japan, generating continuously clean electricity from heat. So where do we focus going forward? One market that is very, very interesting for us and that we have a big focus on is the maritime market. Shipping is one of the most efficient way or with lowest carbon footprint to transport goods. Still, the shipping industry is standing for around 3% of the CO2 emissions in the world. So there is a big drive for this industry to cut CO2 emissions. And this industry and the International Maritime Organization, they have set up targets to cut CO2 emissions by 2030 with 40% compared to 2008 years level. And already next year, from 2023, ship owners need to classify their ships according to an energy efficiency index. So there is a lot of legislation now driving ship owners and also then shipyards to lower CO2 emissions and making their ships more energy efficient. And in addition to legislation, all ship owners also want to cut fuel cost. Fuel is one of the biggest cost driver for a ship. So, and now when the fuel prices is only going in one direction, there is more and more incentives for ship owners to cut the fuel cost. And when we talk to ship owners for installing equipment, they want to normally have return of investment for 5 to 7 years of whatever they put in. So that would be including our units, installation, and operating cost. So that is what we're working with together with ship owners, and we're getting more and more inquiries all the time. And in the world, on average, of course it varies from year to year, but in average there is 1,800 ships, big ships, being built in the world, the majority in Asia, of course. And of those ships, when we look into those, around 30% of those are relevant for our type of equipment. And the bigger they are, with larger engines, more fuel consumption, of course, there is a better business case for the ship owners to reduce fuel and fuel cost on board. So a lot of initiatives and a lot of focus going on in this market, and there is a big drive to both cut fuel cost and cut emissions. Another really interesting market for us is power stations. And one country that we're working with is UK. Like in most countries in Europe, UK say that the need for electricity is going up at the same time as they want to cut emissions. And all different countries in the world and all different countries in Europe have different situations. But in UK, they have a lot of wind power. And but when you have wind power, you also need to have sustainable baseload power. In UK, another thing that they have is that they have a lot of gas. Not Russian gas, but the majority of the gas is from the North Sea. And one project that we're working with here is a company called Landmark. They have now started to construct their first plant, which is engines combusting gas, then putting our equipment and other equipment beside or to the engines, increasing the efficiency of this plant, increasing the output of electricity, and then they could put carbon capture at the end of this, making this into a green source of baseload power. So the first project now with our equipment on it has been started to be constructed, and then we're looking into the next and the third installation together with them. Geothermal power. Personally, I think geothermal power is a beautiful way for the world, or a beautiful alternative for the world to have more sustainable baseload power. Geothermal power is already in use in several countries in the world, like in New Zealand, for example. They use a lot of geothermal power. In US, normally this is big installations. They use temperature around 200 degrees. In Climeon, we are focusing on low temperature installations and also smaller and distributed plants. So we have installations in operation on Iceland, and also in Japan. However, geothermal power is quite immature. It has not come as far as wind and solar power, but there is a lot of initiatives going on in the world now to develop geothermal power. A lot of initiatives with drilling, constructing, building the plants, operation of the plants. So this could be a really good alternative for the world to have more sustainable power. And not so much here in Sweden, because we don't have so much heat close to the surface, but in a lot of other countries, and also in countries in Europe, like in Germany, for example, they have better options for having more geothermal power. So this is something that we are following really closely, and could be a really good alternative for the world. As I said previously in my presentation, we have one product today which can produce 150 kilowatt of power. And this one you can put in serial production or parallel production if you want to have more electricity. But what we are working with now also is the next product. And it will be a larger product, heat power 300, so around double the size. It will have the same advantages as our product that we have today. It will have really high efficiency. The first product version of this will be designed to meet the maritime requirements and the requirements on board ships. But then this can also be designed for also meeting land-based applications, like the one you saw in UK, for example, or geothermal plants. Then we need to get rid of the special marine requirements and put in more land-based requirements, but that will be quite easily adapted. And this would be a customer's product platform, so it can be easily adapted to different market requirements, and it will be launched during this year, and then before that launch we will then obviously come back with more information about this product. So just to summarize this, heat power is a part of the puzzle to having more sustainable power in the world, producing fossil-free electricity. There is a lot of heat available today which is not being used from industrial processes or on board ships or even underground, which can be used as geothermal power. We have a product in operation today in different market segments and in different places in the world. And this year we will also launch a larger product. And we will then come back with more information before that launch. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lena Sundquist. In the maritime sector,
Yep.
We are now seeing big ships that have added on or built on or been produced with this sail function.
Yep.
How is that connecting to your product in terms of heat recovery?
I mean, that is one alternative for reducing CO2, obviously. But I think there is very, very few ship owners that could see themselves only having a sail. They would need an engine as well.
Of course.
So for a long, long time, there will still be engines on board ships. So
it's not competition. It's basically just an add-on for some ship owners.
ship owners need to look into several alternatives to cut CO2 emissions, so that also there's just not one single alternative. There's a lot of different things needed to cut CO2 emissions.
Thank you. So if we look 5 years into the future, where is Climeon?
Yeah, we definitely have I mean, now on the table, what we have now is to launch this new product and get that on the market. And with that, we will have that product, of course, on many, many more markets, like more established on several markets.
And how about competition in your field? What does it look like?
There is, of course, competition, both if you look at other companies with sort of organic ranking cycles or heat power equipment. Either they normally have, there's different alternatives. So for in geothermal power, for example, there's usually larger installations, whereas we have smaller, more distributed power. And that market opportunity is so huge, so there will be room for all of us. If we look at the maritime market, there's only us and one more supplier marketing ourselves in the marine market. But of course, we think we have the best product and we have the highest efficiency. So yeah, I think we need more suppliers to develop this market, and there is a market for all of us.
Well, excellent. Thank you very much indeed, and best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.